So head over to Scullyio slash Scully on GitHub, and you can kind of start checking it out. But let me explain what the Jamstack is, okay? Or let me explain to you the advantage of the Jamstack, and there's several. So before I do that, let me just throw this out here. There's this concept of there's this book by Netlify that does a really good job, much better than I'm going about to do. Okay, and I'm gonna put it in the show comments right now. Okay, so if anyone wants to get this book from Netlify, it's a free book done by Netlify. It's on O'Reilly. Anyway, check it out, and it will teach you about the Jamstack. Let me teach you what I know about it. Okay, which isn't a lot. Talking with our friends at Netlify and other people at HQ and other, it sounds like there's obviously people much more expert than us in this industry. So here's what the Jamstack is. So I want you to think about the smallest version of your Angular app you've ever been able to build, like just the hello world. How big is that hello world, Sander?
I don't know, like 300K?
300K, like the smallest you're gonna get that thing is 300K, right? Jorge, is that true?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like 300K. This is the smallest, right? Which really sucks. And React's slightly better. Other frameworks are, they're on par with this. So it's not like Angular's outrageous. 300K is about average when you add in a router and all the stuff that Angular's giving you. It's pretty solid. So that same hello world, if you take your Angular hello world and then you have Scully pre-render it, then when you ship that to production, your users only have to download about 2.5K, maybe 1K. So they can get your website generated and rendered in Angular for about 1K, okay? So needless to say, any website at kilobytes in size compared to, upwards of a meg. I know some people comment in
Vue.js is like 20 to 30 kilobytes.
Yeah, so comment in the YouTube comments if you have like over a meg for your Angular app in production. I know there's a lot of us that do. Even when we use it in Minify, we're at least half a meg, right? So the important thing is to know when a user can get your first page for 25 kilobytes versus half a meg, that means that a user on a mobile device with a slow 3G connection can pretty much instantaneously see your website. That's what that means. So even on a mobile device with bad reception, doesn't matter where you are, you could be in any first world country or not. We all have bad 3G sometimes, right? So it's not a country thing. It's just a mobile device problem. And if you could get instantaneous website, no matter how good your mobile reception is, that's pretty awesome. So I went in and I threw the link in the show notes to the book on Jamstack by Netlify. But this is kind of what the Jamstack is. It takes your Angular app and you're going to render it into a series of HTML pages, okay? And then you're going to ship those HTML pages to production, and anyone can now view any of the views in your Angular app for just mere kilobytes. Now the really cool thing is, as soon as it loads the app and people can see the view, it then is going to download your Angular app and bootstrap that on top. So you're still getting a spa, right? So you have this static site, but it's also still the same spa you've been developing for years, which is really, really powerful. But if you build your Angular app a certain way, where all of your state essentially lives in the route, then you can effectively turn off JavaScript entirely, and you could run your Angular app without JavaScript even turned on. So this is what Jamstack allows you to do. Now here's the great thing about Scully. You get all of this, and you don't have to change the way you're writing your Angular app, right? Now with some other Jamstack solutions, you have to write a very specific way. Like you have to, if you're writing React, it needs to be very flavored, like a specific flavor, and that's because they want to be able to predict a lot of things about how your app is structured. Well, thanks to Angular, the Angular team and Angular CLI, we know a lot about how your app is structured out of the gate. If you're an Angular developer, we know a lot about it actually. And using that with a bit of machine learning, we can find all the routes in your app, and then we can say, hey, Scully, I want you to render this entire app Just render it all to a bunch of series of static HTML files, maybe thousands of them even. And then you'll take that pre-rendered bundle of HTML files and you'll just ship that out to your CDN. And then anytime anyone goes to one of the routes in your app, it will load immediately, just kilobytes, and they've got the entire view that they came to see. So for those of you who work at a company where you see the conversion and you say, hey, if this takes 4 seconds to load versus 1 second, the conversion goes through the roof. And your conversion is going to go through the roof now because you're going to have way less abandoned sessions, right? People are going to see your app and be able to start interacting with it immediately. It's going to be a game changer for people who work off conversion rates and have real big money returns on the performance and initial load time of their apps. So that's what this offers you. Now, there's a lot more advantages to the Jamstack. I'm going to skip them for now because I know everyone's like, stop talking, because I will forever. Jorge and Sandy, you guys know this. If someone doesn't make me stop, I'll go. Is this a fact?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fact. So I'm gonna do a demo, and I'm gonna show people this working, okay? And then the last thing before we go, just for those who wonder, I'm Aaron Frost on Twitter. Sander, who's principal architect here at Hero Devs, he's Sander Elias on Twitter. And then Jorge, also architect here, he's Jorge Ucano. So if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, Aaron Frost, Jorge Ucano, and Sander Elias. Okay, so now I'm going to do a demo. I'm going to show this thing off. I'm going to show you how to do it. So we're going to start. Let me share the screen. 1 second. Screen share. Now, Stan, I need you guys at this point to tell me if I mess anything up. Like if people can't see me, I need you to tell me they can't see me, okay? All right. So you can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to make a new Angular app, okay? So I'm going to say ng. Should I go bigger text?
Yeah, maybe it's
bigger.
better.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll say ng new, what should we call this thing?
Scully
intro. Scully live. There we go. Okay. So we're making a new Angular app. Yeah, let's add routing. We definitely need routing. SCSS.
Can you up the font a little bit more?
I've got it big. Are people asking for it to be bigger?
Yeah, words are too small. So yeah, I think that is okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's the website. Let me check in YouTube. You can wait to npm and check.
Yeah, npm's happening, so we're
now it's okay. Yeah,
it's good now. Okay, cool.
Yeah, if the people read the PDF, they can read any.
Yeah.
But yeah, the terminal is perfect.
Okay, cool. All right. So for the terminal, okay. So now we have this Scully Live. So I'm going to change into the Scully Live directory. Okay. No. CD Scully Live. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now we're in the Scully directory. We're in the master branch. I'm gonna open it up in WebStorm real quick. Open it up in this new window here. Put that back over here, yo. Yeah, that's what I want here. Okay, here we go. All right. So here's our Angular app. This is the default Angular app you're gonna get, right? So it's got an app component. Let me change my view to presentation mode. Enter presentation mode. Okay, here we go. All right. So it's got the app component, and we're just gonna delete everything inside of our app component, okay? And we're just gonna say H1 Scully is live, okay? And then we're gonna put a router outlet, and then we'll go ahead and do a footer, and we'll just say bye Hero Devs, okay? All right. So if I go ahead and I run my app here real quick, so if I say ng serve, then at that point, hold on. You go here, and
you cut the privacy policy from the CLI.
Oh, I do? Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll up into it. Okay, so here our app is launching. We'll come over to localhost 4200. No, not that localhost. Sorry. We'll do port 4300. Come on, man. You can do it. Come on. Okay. Where we are? We on 4300? Didn't tell me what port I'm on. Yeah, we're on 4300. Okay. So I go to 4300. Okay, so we have our simple app here, right? Now, I'm going to add a bunch of views in here because I want to, I need to be able to have a bunch of views that we can work with. So I've kind of copied some stuff that we're just going to paste in here. So this is going to generate a home route with a view, a user route, and an about route. So that's what this is going to do. So if you watch this, it's making the home route stuff here. It's making the about route stuff here. It's making the user route stuff here, and then it's making the users component, so you can see all the users in the app. Okay, so this did exactly what you did exactly what you thought it did. As Angular developers, this is exactly what you're used to it doing. So we now have a user route, a home route, and an about route. Okay, if we come in here, we can see these three routes, right? So we have a home route, an about route, and a user route. I'm going to change the home to just be the default path. So now when we come over here, we can see that the home route works, the user route works, and then the about route will work. Okay, so we've got those three routes. Now there's one more thing I'm gonna do to this app real quick. So if I go to the user module, the user routing module, sorry. If someone comes to this default route for the user module that's lazy loaded, I want them to get the users component. That's where you'll see all the users. And then if you go to user ID, then I want you to get the user component. Okay, so one shows all users, the other one shows a user. So that's what that's doing. So now if I come over here and I go to user, it should say users works. So now I see all the users. But if I go to user/1, like I can get that right. All right. So I wanna pull this one out of the URL and just put it in here just so we can have some content inside of our user component. So go over that user component real quick. And we're just gonna say private route activated routes. And now that I've got that, I can say user ID is equal to this .route .params pipe, because I just want to pluck out of the params. I want to pluck out the user ID, right? That's all I want to pull out. Okay. So now I've got the user ID out of there. And in my component, I can go ahead and say user ID. And I'll say user. And I'll do the async pipe on that. Okay. So now when we go back to our app, I can see I'm on user 1. If I go to user 1000 or 11,000, it puts 11,000 in there, right? Okay. So we have this app. Okay. And at this point, it's fully working, and I want to get Scully in here. I want to pre-render this. I want to pre-render the about route, the home route, the user route, and then also I want it to generate one view for every single user in my app. Okay, so we're going to get Scully in here to pre-render this thing for us. Okay, so let me kind of walk you through the installation for Scully. So from the root of our app, I'm going to say ng add scullyio/init. Okay, Sorry, and I need to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so if you say Scully add, or ng add Scully init, this is going to run the Scully schematic, which really kind of walks into your app and sets Scully up for you. Because there's several steps it needs to do, but we've tried to make this as simple as possible for Angular developers using Angular CLI with a schematic that kind of takes care of this for you. And it's going to tell you what it's doing. It's going to say, oh, this is what I'm doing. So it adds the dependencies. If you don't have HTTP client module imported yet, it brings it in. It updates your package, updates your app module. It brings in a new polyfill. It updates the app component it imports this specific imports it needs. And then it gives you a brand new Scully config file, this is kind of where the internals of Scully will be configured by you. And then it kind of updates something in your package.json and you're done. Okay, so now if I come over here, this app it's like Scully. It's ready to be generated, which really, when you think about it, it's kind of crazy. Okay, like it was that simple to kind of get this thing statically generated. So Scully works off of a build folder. Okay, so you need to run a build and then you can run Scully. So one of the things Scully did when it installed was it added this run Scully command. Okay, this is one of the things that got added when you ran the schematic. Okay, so Scully needs a built version of your app. So we're going to do an ng build. Okay, and I could do a prod here, but I'm going to leave the prod off just because I want it to go a bit quicker for this demo. And then when it's done, I want it to do npm run Scully. Okay, and you're going to kind of see it does this build, and then you'll kind of see some of the steps that Scully's going through. And the first step Scully does is it's going to try and find all the routes in your app. Okay, so it's going to be like, oi, what's the deal? Like, how many routes are in your app? And once it knows how many routes are in your app, then it knows which routes it needs to walk through and pre-render. Okay, so it's kind of kicking up right now and saying, let me find all the available routes. Once it finds them, it's going to crawl all of them. Okay, so it says, hey, these are the routes I found. I found the empty route, the about route, I found the user route, and I went ahead and I walked through all of those routes. Okay, so that's kind of what it is. So it tells me it generated 3 pages in 4 seconds is what it just did. Okay, so that's it. And Sander, are you laughing because the math is not perfect on that, or what are you laughing about?
No, I'm laughing for Jennifer. She said, okay, Scully command should be prefixed by oi.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, it's good.
We can make a custom version that asks you that. Oi! All right. Okay. So, all right. Now let's go back into this and kind of check out what we're doing here. Okay. So if I look at my dist folder, I have this new static directory. Okay. This Scully Live, the Angular CLI did that when I did ng build, but this static directory, Scully made this thing. Okay. So if you look inside, it made a new file called index.html inside users. So this is my user route. It made an about that index.html. So this is my about route. And then the default route for the entire app is now in this index.html. Okay. And if we look at this, we'll see that it fully rendered out kind of all the content from my app inside of here, right? So if I just do a format on this thing, you'll be, all right, so put the router outlet in there, you put the app home component in there, right? And then it also pre-rendered in there, kind of the home component works. So that's the Angular rendering. Like that was Angular fully rendering our app. And it saved that to HTML. And so now when the users come to our website, they'll be able to load this pre-rendered version and they'll get it immediately. So if I had way more stuff in my app, which everyone on earth will, then that will all be rendered immediately. And then you'll see it's just going to load my Angular JS app on top of it. And the same thing happens in my index.html, or my about does the same thing. And same with my user view. Now, I'm going to just serve this up real quick, just so everyone can kind of see it. So I'm going to use a node HTTP server. And I'm just going to change into the dist and the static directory. Okay. let me clear this out, and I'm going to say HTTP server port. We'll do 5,000. Okay. So now on port 5,000, it's serving up the static directory. Okay. So if I come over here and I say localhost 5,000, so it's got my Scully's live app here, right? Let me bump this up quite a bit. And I can go to about, and I can go to user. Sorry, that's not what I meant to do. And all these routes are working. Okay. Now you'll notice though, when I reload this, it's still loading all that JavaScript, right? Like you can see all this stuff that's still getting network tabbed. And so you're not sure, did Angular render this or did it statically get generated? So I'm going to go ahead and for this demo, I'm going to turn off this table JavaScript. Okay. So now JavaScript is disabled. So it legitimately Angular will not run on this app. Okay. So when I reload the page, if I go to the root of my app, I say localhost 5,000, it loaded 2 kilobytes of HTML, and that was all that it did. It didn't do anything else. Okay, so the app was, I don't know, as fast as it possibly could be. So
packet.
Yeah. One request.
Can you put the font more big?
Font?
Yeah, the console. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so yeah, so now my entire app loaded in 2.3 kilobytes, versus if I re-enable JavaScript, and I reload, then it loaded initially the HTML, same 2.3, but then it also loaded 7.1 for the home module, it loaded the runtime, the polyfills, the styles, the vendor, and then my main, as well as the favicon, right? So it did a lot of requesting, is what I'm trying to say. But again, if we disable JavaScript, the app still renders perfectly, okay? All right, now here's the thing though. Here's the thing. Scully, if I go to user, it works. But if I go to user 1, that doesn't work. And that did work when I ran it on my localhost. Like if I go to user 1, oh, did I kill? Yeah, I think I did. Let's do ng server real quick. I don't know. Oh yeah, sorry. There's an error. Every time when you install Scully, I forgot. After you install Scully, you are gonna have to restart your ng server. You'll get some errors. So sorry, that was one step I forgot. Okay, so now if I go in the Angular version, if I say user/1, it totally loads user 1. But in my Scully build, if I say user/1, it just kind of errors. It didn't actually generate that for me. So that kind of bothers me that it didn't generate that, because I wanted it to generate all the users. Well, that's kind of the thing about Scully is you need to teach Scully about your app a little bit, okay? So Scully can render, let's say you have 1,000 users in your app. So you have localhost/user/1/2, and you go all the way up to 1,000. Scully will generate all 1,000, and it will do it very, very quickly. It'll do it very, very quickly. But you have to tell Scully, here are the IDs I need you to go into those routes, okay? Here are the IDs that you're going to put into that route, okay? So we're gonna kind of configure this with what we call a JSON plugin. So we're gonna go get a list of users that we wanted to put into that user ID, okay? So if we look at our Angular app, sorry, let me go back into the app one more time, and we go into our user module and go to the routing. We have a route that's set up for user/user ID. Okay, so we need to do a little bit of, give Scully a little bit of love on this and teach it how to get the user IDs. So that's what this next step is, and this is really kind of the magic. And in a Gatsby, you would have to like kind of set up some sort of GraphQL plugin, but in Angular, in Scully, it's just going to be an HTTP, and we already have a plugin for this. So we're going to use a JSON plugin. So we're going to say, hey, when you go to user/user ID, I want you to do this thing. I want you to use the plugin, and I want you to use the type of plugin is the JSON. Okay. So Sander built the JSON plugin, which a lot of people are going to be able to use, just day one.
Hello.
And I need to teach it where to get these user IDs, okay? So we're going to say, when you're trying to resolve user ID, I want you to go to the URL JSON placeholder. Sorry. I want you to go to this JSON placeholder URL, okay? And this is just a publicly accessible URL that just has an array of 10 users. That's all this is, okay? So I want you to go to this URL, get the array back, and then I want you to pull out of each of those things. I want you to pull the ID off of them, okay? So now I'm going to get an array of users, and it's going to pluck the IDs out of those. And that's going to be the IDs that will be used by Scully when it crawls my app. It's going to crawl each of those IDs one at a time. So now when I rerun my app, so we're gonna kind of kill this thing, and we're gonna go back up a directory, and we're gonna rerun our ng build and Scully command. Okay, so here let's do a clear. I want to say ng build and npm run Scully, because now we've made a couple changes. So it's going to redo a build for us, and then it's going to rerun Scully on this thing. Okay, so now you're about to see, okay, my build's done. So now it's running Scully. It's going to find all the routes, and it's going to run that plugin we just configured. Okay, so it's going to go get those 10 users from JSON placeholder, and it's going to walk those. Come on. Do I need to do it 2 times? Is this still this bug standard?
No.
I want to run it one more time because I don't trust it. Come on. I know. Oh. Okay, perfect. This is exactly what you want to have happen on a live demo.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. This is perfect. It's alpha. Do I need to kill my ng serve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the ng serve
Yes.
blocking it? Is that what it is?
Yeah, block the folder.
All right. Let's try it. Come on, bud. Find them. Find those users.
You might be missing a trailing
Oh.
beginning slash.
Yeah.
Is this
That's,
it?
yeah.
That's it? That's it?
Yeah.
The forward slash at the beginning? That's
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Come
you need to
on.
put all the URL.
Come on, me. All right, so now I'm just going to run this, but I'm going to skip the build because we've already got the build. So we're just going to run a Scully.
Thank you, Bernard. Bernhard? Did I say that right?
I think.
Yeah, we got some help. Bernard Road. Thank you, sir. No, stop. Okay, all right. All right. So now it's like, oh, I see the users. So it went out, it used that plugin that we configured, and it's like, I'm going to go find all the IDs. So it found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 10. So it found 10 of those. And if we come over and we look at the dist, in our static and our user directory, we now have 1/index.html, 2/index.html, and so on. Okay, so you can imagine if you had like a product catalog that we were building with Angular, and you just very simply taught Scully, hey, to get the list of category IDs, hit my staging server, get the category IDs, and then now you know how to render all the category pages. Like, it's very, very simple. Let's go ahead and launch this thing though. So let's go back into the dist folder static, and we'll HTTP server port 5000. Now we're running on the static files on port 5000, which, if you remember, this thing still has JavaScript disabled, right? So this is just JavaScript at this point. Okay, so we've got 1. Let's go 10. Right? We never visited that. So these are all pre-rendered now. And so we're totally cooking with gas on this thing. Like, this is fully pre-rendered. My app fully worked, and it's now ready to be deployed through to a CDN. And it's actually pretty killer when you think about it, is all I'm going to say. Okay. Now check this out. Scully got this really cool addition, and I'm going to show it off, okay? Like, because I'm kind of getting sick of, over here in production, I'm kind of getting sick of clicking up here and changing all the routes. So Scully, we provide you this Scully route service, and I'm going to show you how to configure that real quick, okay? So I'm going to open up my app component where I've got my footer, right? And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm inside my footer. I'm gonna try and print out all the links in the app, okay? So I'm gonna make a UL with an LI in it, and in this LI, we're gonna say ng4 let route in. Now I gotta get the routes from something, okay? So let me show you this new thing that you got with Scully that you didn't have before, okay? So I'm gonna inject public Scully, and this is the Scully route service. So this Scully route service, I can now use that to get all the available routes in my app, okay? So now I can say, for route in Scully.available, okay? And I'm just gonna async pipe that available list of routes. So now I've got all the routes in the app, okay? And I'm gonna make an anchor, and I'm going to say the route link is equal to the route.route. And then I will show you the route.route just for now, okay? Actually, I'm going to do, if the route has a title, then I'll show you that. If it doesn't, I'll show you the route, okay? So at this point, if I go look at my 4200 or my app running on localhost, oh, did I kill ng-serve again? Is ng-serve dead again? Yes. Okay, sorry, we gotta serve it up again. I just want to show you this working inside the dynamic spa, and then we'll run it again with JavaScript turned off so you can see it. Awesome. Do I have an error? So it got the Scully routes, so it did fetch the routes. I just can't write Angular today. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've got all the routes here, right? So I can go to about user 1, I can go to user 10, I can go back to about, I can go back home as well. Okay. So now we kind of have, we're using Scully. Once you run it the first time, it will generate these for you, okay? So then the second time and any nth time after that, you'll actually have access to all the routes in your app if you need them, okay? Which really matters if you're writing blogs and you want to link to like the most recent blogs or whatever. Having these available routes gets really important for bloggers. Okay, all right. So now let's go ahead and generate this exact same thing. I'm going to run this through Scully, and I just want everyone to see this will now work as a static website. Okay, so let's just go ahead. We're going to do our build. And sorry, I got to get out of here. So we're going to do our build and run Scully again. So now it's going to build because we changed that footer to include that UL with those LIs. So we need to do a build again. And then it's going to regenerate all the pages for us. Now we're working on a watch server that will just kind of watch your changes. And is that actually working, Jorge?
Yes.
Okay. So if I wanted to do a Scully watch, how do I do that?
npm run Scully watch.
Okay. So if I say npm run Scully watch like that.
Yep.
That works?
Yes.
Okay.
You have sheet for generate again Scully.
Okay.
And Q for kit.
Okay. So this thing's running and it's watching though. So anytime I run a build in the future, it'll just watch and run for me, right? Okay. So if I change something over here, and I say, if I add links over here, and then I rerun a build, so I'll just npm ng build. Can I run build watch too? Did we solve that or no?
Yes.
I can't run build watch?
Yes, you can.
You sure? On Mac?
Yeah.
ng build. Let's try it, dude. Let's try it. We have people
Yeah,
watching.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
As you go watch now, you should be able to just develop real time.
Yeah, we are watching the folder, so when the folder change, we regenerate all.
Okay. All right. So now Scully should rerun. All right. So I'm gonna put this new thing in there. We should fire this new build watch, and then Jorge's saying,
Yeah, I think what work, but
I don't think it's working. Okay.
yeah,
Go look it up. So we look on our Angular app. Oh, it did work.
yeah, work.
Oh, so live worked, but did this work? Nah, he didn't work. Oh yeah, it's because I killed my HTTP server. All right, sorry.
Yes. Yeah,
So we're gonna add one more. We're gonna add one more server in here. Sorry. CD dist static. Okay. Serve these things. Okay, reserve this back at port 5000. Okay, so it didn't add like the links in here. It didn't add the title links. So if I say G, Jorge says if I say
G enter.
So now I can just say G and it will regenerate. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the regenerate really is if you change anything in your endpoints.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Yeah.
So that's all I had to do was say G that time and it just ran. These are all now pre-rendered. It's got the links in there. Okay. JavaScript still disabled. All right. So here's the thing. I've shown you can pre-render any Angular app that you've got and it's gonna work. A lot of people want to kick the tires on this thing and start doing some blogs. So we wrote a schematic for the Angular community members out there that want to start blogging. Okay, so let me kind of show you this blog stuff. Okay, so once you've got Scully going inside of your project, you're going to say, sorry, let me make this a little bit bigger. So in your project, you're going to say ngg to nggenerate. You're going to say scullyio /init, and we're going to do the blog. Okay. So you can just say init my blog for me, add blogs into my app. And it says, all right, I'm going to create a blog module, okay, with routes. So it sets that up for me so I don't have to configure my Angular app to have a blog route and a blog module that will be lazily loaded and stuff. And then it goes ahead and it creates a couple markdown files for me, or it gives me kind of a default markdown file. So now I can blog in Markdown. And Scully will take care of rendering that markdown to HTML at build time for me, okay? And then it just kind of updates the rest of my app and puts some stuff in there. So let me kind of show you kind of what went on there. So if we look into, we now have this blog directory, okay? And in the blog, we've got these markdown files, okay? So we can kind of put anything in here. So I'm gonna change this from page X example to Scully is live, okay? What is Twitter?
Now Isaac is saying
Add
you should
paywall.
add block at paywall.
Yeah.
It's like Medium.
Nah.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you, Isaac. We're not gonna add paywall. But that's funny. Okay. Okay. So all right. So we're just gonna say Scully is live, and then put interesting stuff here, right? So it's gonna go ahead and now here's the thing. When I render this on my local device, right? So I now have a blog route. It configured my Angular app to have a blog route, so that we have this blog thing, and it's in the blog routing module. So at the blog ID, it's not going to work at runtime because Angular doesn't have access to. So where's my blogs, Kano?
You need to have the link.
Oh, do I have to run the build one more time, huh?
Yeah.
So that it can add it does, because Scully has to run to get the links before it can show up here. So
Yes.
Let's run Scully one more time, okay? So we're gonna run Scully one more time. We're gonna say, hey, I need you to generate all the builds again. So I'm gonna say G. Did I do Q? He doesn't know Q. All right, sorry.
You kill the process.
Killed it. Yeah. Fault tolerance equals 0. Sorry. Okay. Now let's run it one more time. Okay. All right. So now it's going to run it. So now we have a list of the routes, and you can see it rendered my blog for me in my static site. But in my Angular site, this blog, it's like I can't load Markdown. I don't know what that is. So in your Angular app, that's not going to actually work. But if we come over to our static app, sorry, where did my route go? Here. Okay, it's on that side. All right. So if we come over here into the pre-rendered site and we refresh, did I get an error? No, it should work.
Yeah, it's there. No, remember the HTTP server sometimes? You need to go to the some folders and return.
Yeah. CD static. Let's rerun this again. Okay.
Yeah, we're throwing away the folder in our runs, and HTTP server doesn't like that.
Alright, still freaking out. Why is it freaking out? They're all there. Everything's pre-generated.
Yeah.
Oh, there's interesting. This happened to me last night too.
Yeah, I think it's the watch mode.
Is it watch?
Can you just kill the watch mode?
Okay.
Open your blog module for check if all there.
They're there.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you mean in Angular? You want me to open my blog
yeah.
module? Sorry. Okay, so if I open blog and open the route,
the HTML read.
the HTML, it should be here.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, maybe it's the watch. You know, the watch is really in alpha.
Okay. So yeah, that watch is brand new. So let's run the Scully kind of on its own, okay?
Did you do a build?
Let's do a build too. Okay. All right, we're working on the watch, people. You're being patient. This is alpha. We said it was alpha. We're delivering what we promised. Okay, so there's my build. Now let's do my generate. We doing some routes. We got the blog route rendered. It saw it. If I look over here, static blog, this gentleman, it totally worked, right? If we go look at the Scully content, it's full of good stuff here, right? Put interesting stuff here. It has my H1. Scully is live, right? So we're good to go. So it even added the ID, proving that this is a true Markdown generator. Okay, so we're good. All right, there we go. So now let's go ahead and launch this thing up in the file server, in the static file server. Okay, so I click on this blog, it launches it. My Markdown's pre-rendered, so it loaded my Markdown in there for me. I didn't have to worry about that. The page is up to 5K with stuff in there. So the page, you know, a normal size page you can get up to 40, 50K, still much smaller than any sizable Angular, React, or Vue app. So anyway, so this is what you can do. So now, if you want to, let's say you want to make a new post, like, hey, I came home, I felt inspired today by something someone said, maybe I listened to a podcast or whatever. I want to do a new post. So I'm going to say ngg at scullyio init, and I just do post here. True, Jorge?
Yes.
And I do dash name is equal to live event. Can I do that?
Yeah, you can use code for put space or just write.
Let's say live event. Okay, so I went ahead and created live event.md, and if we go look at the live event, it looks like this. Is pretty simple. I'm pretty pumped about this. Okay, so now we'll just redo a build again and rerun Scully. And the watch mode is coming again.
In this case, you can just run Scully.
Oh, that's true. I didn't
and this. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
We have a good question from Brian Love.
Okay. does it say?
What is the global variable scullyContent for?
Where is it at? I don't see it in here. Oh,
Yeah,
here
it's
it's
not,
this thing.
not a global variable. It's
Yeah.
it's a component, and we use that to inject the HTML into your Angular application.
So Brian, you're talking about this thing, right?
Yes.
So Brian, when you want to use a Markdown renderer, you need a little bit of extra love to integrate with Scully, and we didn't want anyone to have to manually paste that together. So we just allow you to add in the Scully component, the scullyContent component, and then you're kind of cooking with gas from there. You don't have to do much more than that. It takes care of pulling out the pre-rendered content and putting it into the view, which can then be rendered at build time and then shipped fully rendered. So yeah, that's kind of what that is all about.
And we have another good question. It's why you are using HTTP server?
This right here.
No,
no.
it's like from Yalen, I think. It's Yalen 2010.
Yeah.
Why do you need to use?
Okay, so once the build is built out to the static directory, so once I run Scully just builds my app into the static directory. Okay, so this is my static version of my Angular app right here in this static folder. That's all it is. I've reduced it to the most basic sum of its total parts. But I have to be able to serve that somehow. So I either have to ship that to a CDN, or locally, I can use a very simple node file server called HTTP server. And so I just say HTTP server, and I serve it on port 5000. So I just serve these files as a simple HTTP node server, right? I could use Apache, I could use NGX or whatever to serve these things. I'm just using a simple node server to do it.
Or you can use Scully serve.
Yeah. We have one command for this too.
That's true. So if you want to, let's say you don't want to install HTTP server, if you say npm run Scully serve like that,
Space.
Is it space serve?
Yeah.
So if you say that, now it's going to go ahead and kind of serve it for you, kind of replacing this HTTP thing that I was doing. So now if you want to go to the static build, you can go to 1668. So let's go over to our app and we'll say localhost 1668. 1668. So this is kind of the static version of my app, right? And JavaScript is enabled, so let's go ahead and disable it. Disable JavaScript, refresh. So the app's still working with JavaScript disabled. So yeah, so you have to serve the static content somehow, Yalan, is I guess what I am saying. So I was using HTTP server. You can use Scully serve. If you have, if you're running Windows, you got IIS or whatever, you can put it on IIS. If you got Apache or Nginx, whatever container you want to drop this in to serve it as static, that's totally fine. So I'm just using it for that reason. So
And when we have a couple of other questions that are
Okay.
interesting.
okay,
The first one, is this OSS?
is this open source? Yeah, this is totally open source. So you got pull requests or suggestions. This is all being run above the table at our GitHub account. So if you want to go check it out, github.com/Scully, Scullyio/Scully, and that's where this code exists. So that's where you got it. We installed it from npm. So I mean, it's all out there, public. Pull requests, welcome today. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. So so that's that. The next question I thought was really interesting is someone, I'm not gonna Mr. Bays, I can't say your first name, yo. So Mr. Bays wants to know if this is using Angular Universal. So one of the greatest things about this is that it is not Angular Universal. Not that there's anything wrong with Universal, but if anyone's done Angular Universal, you know you're not writing a regular Angular app. You're writing a very specific flavor of Angular that will run in Universal mode. Well, this is not that. This, we know that we need to integrate with projects that aren't going to be Angular Universal ready. An example would be an Angular hybrid app that has Angular and AngularJS. That won't run in Universal. So we know that we're dealing with very complex enterprise and corporate apps. So we're running in an environment that is much more like a browser, still very, very fast, but you're not going to have some of the same limitations that you would if you were trying to force this down the throat of an Angular universal. This is going to be, to say how much more versatile is hard to guess. I'm just going to say exponentially more versatile, like an order of magnitude easier to work with than Angular universal will be. So yeah, that will be my answer on that one. Am I missing any more questions? What's the timeline for the beta release? Let's just say we're currently shooting for end of January. That's what we want. But if you want to get in and help us, roll up your sleeves and help us get it out there, that would be super appreciated as well. What effort would it be to inject a minifier that can be configured to minify the rendered HTML? So that will be easy. We just need to add a little bit extra in there. It won't be that hard. So Tara's laughing at us. Facundo.
Yeah, Facundo asked.
The app will continue. Yeah. So Facundo, if you haven't been watching this whole presentation, like right here, here's my Angular app running, and JavaScript is disabled on this tab, right? So everything's working. JavaScript's fully disabled, and it still works. So yeah, if you build your app the right way, where it doesn't depend on the JavaScript, you can still fully function, and a blog specifically can fully function without that.
Brian again. What
Brian?
version of Angular are supported?
So currently it supports 9. We're gonna add 8 in there, okay? But right now it's 9. So we know today, we had 8 supported last week, but we made a couple of changes where now our build is only building for 9, and we would need to build 2 different bundles, one for 8 and one for 9. So we'll get our versioning fixed to where you can install version 1.x to do 8, and you can have version 2.x will support 9 and above. So we need to get that in there, but it's just not there today. So yeah. So someone says, what's the use case to choose universal over Scully? If you need to use, I mean, I gotta be honest, depending on how big your website is, Scully might take an hour to build, depending on how many pages you have. Your build might take an hour. And so if you have an interesting CI/CD system that is like, we can't do an hour, an hour is out of the question, then, and a lot of us are going to be in that, then universal starts to make more sense. You are going to have to customize your app to do that, but yeah. And again, even in that scenario, we're adding ways to where you can tell Scully, hey, don't generate the whole website. Based on this pull request, we just want you to generate routes that look like this. So don't generate every route in the app. Just generate the blogs, or just generate the product pages, or just generate the category pages, right? Like, you can give it some targeted generating, so it will only generate certain pieces of the total that it could generate. So we're adding some pieces that will make this even more compelling to use this over universal. But I'm not gonna lie, Colin. I have a hard time answering that question. I don't really know the use cases, but I'm sure there's a lot of universal friends out there that will have some really good answers. So yeah. Does it support loading data from an external source? Yeah, totally. So Isaac, this is a really good question. So we have a whole plugin system where you can write plugins, right? And Gatsby has this too. Gatsby requires you to say, hey, take your data and then put it into GraphQL. Our plugin system is probably a little bit easier to get going with because you're just fetching data however you want to. So if you want to just install whatever the most popular Contentful NPM package is and integrate that with Scully, it's just a few lines of code to do this. So yeah, it'll totally support anything that you need it to. It's just Node, just simple HTTP stuff. So the list of plugins supported by the community, like I'm sure really soon we'll have a Scully-plugin-Contentful that will be a very simple way that depends on the current Node Contentful package to just fetch the Contentful data for you and bring it into Scully. So yes, it will very, very soon do that. Great question though, Isaac. So yeah. What other questions? Tara's saying it's way simpler to do this than with Universal, which I agree. How would it be for doc sites? It will be amazing. Like we're about to throw our docs. By the time we get to the middle of January, our docs will be an Angular app, and it will be fully Scullied, and it'll have a PWA, and it'll be pretty fantastic. So yeah. Is it GraphQL? Sean wants to know. It's not GraphQL. So it's not that it couldn't work with GraphQL. It's just not GraphQL. So it's just HTTP. We may add caching solutions in the future to where it will use GraphQL, but for right now, it's not using GraphQL. Good questions.
Yeah, and we have one schematic more for create any markdown URL.
Yeah. So if you want to do a
like
blog, yeah, if you want to do a blog but you don't want to use the URL blog, yeah, you can really kind of generate any sort of markdown URL that you want. So yeah, we'll do more videos about that in the future.
Yeah, and it's all in the documentation now.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody, lots of good questions. Please try this out. Head over to Scullyio, or GitHub/Scullyio/Scully, and give it a try. To be honest, if you could give us a follow at Scullyio on Twitter as well, that will help. Because that's where we're going to start publishing a lot more of the announcements. It's going to come through the Twitter stream. So if you can go to Twitter and go to Scullyio and grab that, it would be super helpful as well. Anyway, we're here. Our DMs are open on Twitter. Again, I'm Aaron Frost on Twitter. Jorge's Jorge Ucano, and Sander's Sander Lies. Our DMs are open. You can ask us questions. You can also file issues on the GitHub repo, which again, github.com/Scullyio/Scully. And we'll be as responsive as we can be. We're going to kind of go do this whole demo again in Spanish. So we're going to jump off. We're going to end this, but feel free to reach out to us, ask us any questions you might have, and we appreciate your interest and your support. So please come support us on our GitHub repo. Thank you.
Selecting a front-end framework can be a difficult